Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to explain one of the most important concepts in backend development, DTOs, or data transfer objects, and specifically how they are used inside this project. I'm not only going to explain what DTOs are, but also why they are used in real world backend systems. And then we will go step by step inside DTOs folder in VS Code and understand each file in detail. So by the end of this video, you don't just know DTOs theoretically. You will understand how developers actually use them in production level backend applications. So this is my VS Code open. You can see here you can see different folders like controllers, services, repositories, and the folder called DTOs. This DTO folder is extremely important because it acts as controlled communication layer between front-end and back-end. So these are the files contained inside DTOs folder. DTO. What is DTO? DTO stands for Data Transfer Object, as stated earlier. Now let's understand this deeply. In backend applications, we usually have database entities. These are full of representations of our data. For example, a user identity might contain ID, email, password created at, updated at. But here's the problem. Should we send all this data to frontend? Should we allow all frontend? Should we allow frontend to send all this data to backend? The answer is no, because password is sensitive. Internal IDs should not be and never be exposed. Some fields are only for our backend logic. So instead of exposing full identity, we create DTOs. DTOs are filtered, controlled versions of data. So for a real life analogy, think DTO like airport security. You cannot carry everything. Only allowed items go through. Same way, DTO only allow required data to pass between layers. Now, imagine what happens without DTO. If we don't use DTOs, frontend can send unwanted fields which it has gained from the user. Backend may expose the sensitive data or fields like password. Tight coupling between frontend and database. And lastly, security risks increase. This is the main problem. So, DTO is not optional. It is a best practice in real backend systems. So here I'm opening the file. Let's open user response DTO. This is a request DTO, meaning this is used when client sends data to backend. So here you can see this class defines the structure of the incoming data from the user via frontend. These fields represent what the user is allowed to send. For example, ID, name, email, roll number, status, or is verified or not. Notice something important. Only required fields are included. No necessary internal data. In fact, no password is there. So these are the only required fields. Now, as this is response DTO, this is used when backend sends data back to the front end for the users to view. Notice here, password is not included, internal fields may be removed. This is extremely important because if we accidentally send password, it becomes security vulnerability. Response DTO, the user response DTO or any response DTO which is used to send data back from backend to frontend protects data before sending it outside the backend. So let's understand the full flow. Order item DTO. Client send request will come from the request DTO. Controller receives the DTO. Service processes the data. Repository interacts with database. Entity is returned, converted to response DTO. This is the create item DTO, which is here client will send the request, controller will receive the DTO, service will process the DTO, repository will interact with database because it's third, fourth layer consecutively. Entity is returned and then it is converted to response DTO and then it is sent back to the client. So DTO is used both while receiving and sending data. Now let's talk about something more advanced. In real world applications, we never directly convert entity to DTO manually again and again. We use mapping functions or libraries. Example, entity DTO conversion. Why? Because it keeps code clean, it avoids the repetition, it improves the scalability. Also, DTO, data transfer object, helps maintain separation. This is the most important point. DTO helps maintain separation between database layer and API layer. So this is called separation of concerns, which is a key principle in a backend design. One more important thing. DTO also helps when front-end requirements change. For example, front-end only needs name and email now. Later it needs the profile picture. Currently the profile picture is not required. The two fields required currently are name and email. So we can just update DTO without touching the database structure. This gives the flexibility. So I hope you understand the importance of DTO used in a backend design. Also, there are some of the functions we use. Let's move on to there. There are some functions, annotations like at the rate not null or at the rate email, at the rate size. So these are the validation rules. These are the validation rules. The maximum length of the special instructions could only be 300 characters. This is the required field. The quantity uh, could not be more than the range of 1100. So these are some validation rules. This is the input detail for ordering. This means before the request even reaches the business logic, the backend ensures that the data is valid. This prevents invalid emails, empty values, wrong formats. So DTO also act as validation layer. It will prevent customer and the producer side both by maintaining integrity. So in this video, we understood what DTO is, why is it reused, request versus response DTO, and why are they important? What are their roles? Then we also learned validation role, the security benefits, what will happen if we include the password or not and all, and also how it fits in the backend architecture and its relevance. DTO is a small concept, but it plays a huge role in building secure, scalable backend systems. I hope you learned a lot about DTO in this video. Thank you so much.